This week on the Analog Circle podcast, we get an idea of what Bungie's next project will consist of. The Last of Us Part 2 is getting no additional content, allegedly. Our first-party Xbox game's further away from completion than we hoped, and we get more news about the upcoming game Bioshock 4, just a little bit. All of these stories can be found here and quite a few more in episode 173 of the Analog Circle podcast. I am your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and I want to say welcome and thank you guys for tuning in to another episode. Now, if you, the listener, want to be a part of listener feedback, which will be coming up on Wednesday, you got time. You got plenty of time. You can do it two different ways. You can either call in at 443-216-9934 and let your voice be heard to be a part of the show, or you can email the show, and the email address is simply the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Also, if you want to listen to some previously recorded episodes of the podcast, just head over to Google, type in the Analog Circle Podcast over there. It'll take you to where you need to be, and you know the rest, and enjoy yourself. Now, I'm going to tell y'all, man, I'm not going to get into what I've been playing and all of that stuff. I'm thinking about just doing away with that unless Red Dead Redemption 3 comes out, GTA 6, or just some monumental game, because I think it's a bit of a time waster, you know, because we want to talk about this gaming culture. We want to get into the news and all of that stuff, and I understand that playing the games, that is the whole thing about the gaming culture. It's always about the games, but for me, unless it's something that really just knocked me out of left field, I think I'm going to just skip on that, because I think it just draws out the show a little too long. So, I'm not going to be doing that. So, without further ado, let's go ahead and get into what we all come here for, and that is the gaming news. Let me cut that out. That went down. Let's go ahead. Let's get started with some disappointing news. So during a discussion with Ted Price at the Academy of Interactive Arts and Sciences Game Makers Notebook series, Naughty Dog's co-president, Evan Wells, was asked about if fans are requesting a new Jak and Daxter game, where he replied by saying, and I quote, "We do in fact," he said, "we do in fact. We've had a couple of Twitter campaigns where people have been tweeting us every single day saying, I want a new Jak and Daxter. I want a new Jak and Daxter. And they aren't just simple 280 character tweets. They have Photoshop, memes, and everything they're including on a daily basis. And the effort has got to be significant. And I hate to break it to them, but we do not have Jak and Daxter here in development right now. There's still a lot of love for Jak and Daxter in the studio." End of quote. So it seems like, unfortunately, for the people that are Jak and Daxter fans, we had heard for quite some time that they were supposed to be remaking the game, bringing a brand new version of the game out sometime in the near future. And unfortunately, that is not true. That really does sting, because Jak and Daxter, he even mentioned, talking about Ratchet and Clank, how those guys, they kind of basically took, they picked up where Jak and Daxter kind of left off. So he did have his regrets, but unfortunately, nothing is being worked on as it stands right now. Very, very sad. Let's go ahead and get into some quick news. Now, if you wanted to play Ghosts and Goblins Resurrection, but you do not own a Switch, Capcom did announce the game will be released for Xbox One, PlayStation 4, and PC, but unfortunately a date was not given. And that is a game that I own, I've played. Golly, like I said, man, good grief, the original Demon Souls. Oh gosh, that game is so hard. And it's not fun unless you love running into a brick wall with your head over and over again. Good gosh. Anyway, let's go ahead and move into the next story. Gosh, that game is hard, but it looks beautiful. Very, very nice looking game. But so I read this Forbes article that if true is extremely concerning. Where GameIndustry.biz's Christopher Dring, spelled Dring, he spoke on a VGC podcast where he said he has been talking to Xbox friends, and according to them, we shouldn't expect to see these new games anytime soon. He said, and I quote, Everwild, Perfect Dark, Fable are so far away, as in they might even be in a new Xbox by the time these games come out. And when you look at it, the Hideo Kojima stuff, you wonder if they are signing third parties in the moment because they don't have a lineup of big exclusives at all. End of quote. So it seems, according to this gentleman, and trust me, we're going to get into a ton of rumors. Rumors are just that. They're not true until the parent company or someone who has some authority over there at the company comes out and confirms what people believe is true. So until it actually comes out of Microsoft's mouth that, yeah, these games are far off, then we can't state it or take it, I should say, as fact. But I have to say, man, we have not seen anything. We saw a little bit of Everwild last year. And to be fair, remember the developers even said they weren't sure what the game was going to be at that time. That was a year ago, and you don't know what your own game is going to be about. We saw Perfect Dark. What was that, earlier this year or late last year? This stuff starts to run together, man. But we saw that, no gameplay, just a trailer. And I understand that, you know, hey, we were happy to see it. It was great. But gameplay is what I'm always interested in. If you're going to just show me a CG trailer, you can keep your doggone trailer. I want gameplay. So we don't know what's going on there. They've lost a couple of people over there at that studio, so things are looking shaky. And then you come to Fable. Well, we have no clue. Once again, another CG. And I don't want to jump too fast either. I don't want to jump the gun because, my goodness, people have been jumping the gun a lot over the last couple of weeks, especially with Sony, you know, saying this, man, these jokers getting ready to go under the doggone water. Titanic going down. I don't know if it's that big of a deal over at Sony, but we do know that just overall, when things seem to look a certain kind of way, you know, me included, you know, we tend to possibly blow the situation way out of proportion more than what is necessary. So if this is true, that these games are far off, and like he mentioned when he was talking about signing Microsoft possibly signing Hideo Kojima, you know, with his game and trying to get a lot of third-party support. And we've seen it. Outriders has gone into Game Pass. MLB 21, that's just still crazy to me. That's in Game Pass. And like I said, Hideo Kojima, that's the next rumor up. And he's supposed to be working with Microsoft. So if this is the case, that we're not going to see these games for quite some time, I still can't complain too much, because at least Microsoft, as it seems, can't say it's 100%, but as it looks like they're going to be continuing to get out here and get these third-party deals to help with this long development cycle that they seem to be going through with their games. So we'll see what happens. E3 is coming up in the next couple of weeks. Can y'all believe that? In a few weeks, E3 will be live in effect on June 12th. And we got some news about that coming up in a little bit. So we'll have to see what happens with this story a little later. But let me know, do you guys think that these games are a couple of years away? I think it was a little... Man, listen, when he said that some of these games might not come out and are so far in the future that the next Xbox would have released, I'm like, all right, brother, I'm not gonna go that far. I mean, God dog, I can only imagine that, Senua's Sacrifice, that can't be that far off. The new Forza can't be too far off, as well as we know Halo is coming. They have a couple of games. Man, they got a lot of games in the works. Plus, you got to think about Bethesda as well. Bethesda is also with Microsoft. They have a ton of studios, a lot of IPs. So I think that overall, I'm about to say Sony, golly, Microsoft will be fine, but maybe he's just truly stating, as I wrote down which is what he talked about. Maybe he was just strictly talking about Everwild, Perfect Dark, and Fable, and not the whole catalog that Microsoft has their teams working on. If that's the case, that would be a little sad, because I definitely want to see Perfect Dark and Fable. Everwild, I ain't really interested in that. Rare ain't been tripping lately, but they haven't been making anything that I would like to see. But anyway, I've wasted way too much time on this one. Let's go ahead and move on into some PlayStation news. So PlayStation just got this awesome April update, and this thing is dope, man, which brings cross-generational share play, which essentially means that a PlayStation 5 owner can share their screen with their friend on PS4 and can hand over control to that friend to play the PS5, as long as both gamers have a stable internet connection. Can you imagine having one of your friends, man, online? Because we know this isn't a new feature. Sony has had this feature all the way back on the PS4. They've had it where you can go ahead and have the remote control play, switch it over to your friend, let him enjoy a game that you're playing, and maybe it makes him buy that game. So could you imagine, you have the PS5, your friend has a PS4, like me, and he is dying to play, let's just say, I don't know, the new Demon Souls that just came out on the PS5, or Spider-Man Miles Morales. Well, we know they came out on the 4, but maybe he wants to see what that 60 frames per second feels like, what that 4K looks like, if he has the kind of TV that he can really see that from. But I guess if it's streaming online, I don't know if you're gonna get it, but just work with me here. Work with me. He wants to play the game, and you say, you know what, brother? Here you go. Go ahead and take over. Take control of the character. Let me know how you feel, with the controls and all. This is a really, really dope feature. Oh my goodness. Imagine Ratchet and Clank being played on a PlayStation 4 being streamed because you have a PlayStation 5 and your friend can take control of Ratchet and Clank. Man, this is such a dope feature. I would love for Microsoft to do something like this, but this could bring some people into the ecosystem over at PlayStation that have PS4s. And the way that the PlayStation 4 is selling, and we're going to talk about it a little bit later, I don't think they need much help. But just the fact that they're allowing their gamers to actually share in this ecosystem, being the PlayStation 5 and playing the games that are over on that console via your PS4, this is a fantastic feature. And, we know that Microsoft, they asked people how did they feel about the DualSense controller and all of that stuff, and they may do something similar. I would love for Microsoft to do something like this. And even though I don't play online, man, hey man, somebody has a Series X that I know, and they say, hey, Kiaun, just hop online. I'll let you play a couple of games, so you can get a feel for it. Man, I would definitely do that. Definitely. But Sony, hat goes off to you for this feature. I think it's awesome. And, they also had another feature earlier this week that they had included in the update, which was about the DualSense controller. Now, a lot of people at the time when this had happened, they knew that the DualSense controller got an update, but they weren't sure what it was for. Well, it was basically to help improve the rumble in that controller when you're playing backwards compatible PS4 games. So it's supposed to make it, from what I understood from the article, and I forgot the article I got it from, it might have been PSU, I'm not sure, but they were explaining in the article that when you play PlayStation 4 games on the PS5, that the rumble was pretty flat. It didn't really, rumble as aggressive as it might have with the not the DualSense, but the PlayStation is it the DualSense? Man, I'm losing my mind. The PS4 controller, y'all, good grief. It didn't rumble as much as that would on the PlayStation 5 DualSense. Was a DualShock. God, dog, the DualShock controller, this stuff, I'm telling you, I get so confused at times. But yeah, the DualShock controller, the PS5's DualSense controller wasn't rumbling as much as the PS4 controller would when you played PlayStation 4 games. But this update makes it so that the controller actually rumbles more than it used to when you're playing these backwards compatible PlayStation 4 games. Golly, I feel like I butchered the heck out of that, so I'm about to get up off of this story, and we're going to move on into the next, man. Oh, man. So we got some more Bioshock 4 news from a job listing that is shining just a little bit of light on the direction the next game is going in. So the position is for a senior writer, and the post asks for, quote, someone who can weave impactful, character-driven stories in an open world setting. End of quote. So this new Bioshock is being described as a AAA, as a quote, AAA narratively driven first-person shooter project. End of quote. And just for clarity, in case you guys weren't aware, this Bioshock is being developed by Cloud Chamber, not Irrational Games. So during this, hiring post, they were talking about that the game is going to be, open world, an open world setting, which would be a first for the Bioshock franchise. And on top of that, being a first-person shooter, a triple A narratively driven first-person shooter to be exact, I am all for it. I've been talking about this Bioshock 4 for at least a year and a half. It feels like 2 years at this point, and it seems like it's movement, but it doesn't seem like it's enough fast movement to the point where we can get some gameplay and, just get some proof of concept or something like that. Something just to show us what this game is going to look like. And I know the Cloud Chamber, they were saying that a lot of the original teammates, that worked on the original Bioshocks were with Cloud Chamber. So I don't think that Bioshock is going to lose that Bioshockness of the, that we've been grown accustomed to over the last three. Well, the second one, I'm going to be honest, I didn't play the second one. I played the first one and the third one. When I found out that Irrational Games didn't work on the second one, I was real hesitant, but I did hear from one or two people, that the game was actually very, very good. It was well received, but I can only speak for the first and the third one, and those were just amazing, incredible experiences. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're able to do. The game being open world, having an open world setting. I love the fact that it's still going to be AAA quality, narrative driven. I'm looking forward to it, man. I just hope that we get some more information on this. I doubt if it's going to be this year because it seems like it's still in very, very early development. But who knows? Maybe we'll get some kind of trailer. You never know. But let's go ahead and let's switch into a little bit of Square Enix news. So, because this is according to CTFN, two bankers were reporting that it was several potential buyers interested in buying the company. Even Bloomberg was reporting the same thing, but that's when Square decided to respond and said, and I quote, Bloomberg has reported today that there is interest from several buyers to acquire Square Enix. However, this report is not based on any announcement by Square Enix Holdings Co., Ltd. We do not consider selling off the company or any part of its business, nor have we received any offer from any third party to acquire the company or any part of its business. End of quote. So it was those rumors going around, PlayStation is buying Square Enix, Microsoft is buying Square Enix. Shucks, man, let's just throw it in there just because. Nintendo is even buying Square Enix. But it seems like these bankers, they actually started this rumor, and it is not true. Once Bloomberg got a hold of it, I guess Square said, okay, all right, this has gone far enough. Let's just pump the brakes. Nobody has made any offers. We're not selling off the company, so just relax. Just chill out. So all of those rumors are not true. I never thought Square Enix is a big company. They're very big. They have a ton of IPs. They own the Final Fantasy franchise. They own that IP. On top of several others, I just couldn't see Square Enix selling off the company. Just like, and this is another rumor going around, and I don't believe it. You never can say never. You never know what can happen in the future, how the chips can fall, and, financial situations definitely can make a difference. But I also don't believe the rumor going around that Microsoft is buying Capcom. I just can't see it. I can't. It seems like Capcom, maybe a couple of years ago, you guys know, Capcom was real shaky. They was on some real shaky ground early on in last generation. But since then, they have been flourishing. So I can't imagine that they would also be being bought allegedly by Microsoft or Sony or any other company. But I'm just getting back on track with Square Enix. All of those rumors, again, just for the record, one more time, of them being acquired and becoming first party for someone else, whether it was the three names that I named or Stadia or whoever, that is just absolutely not true. And it doesn't seem like they have any interest on selling their business. So let's go ahead and let's get into the next story. So let's talk about some alleged, and I want to put a big, bold letters in front of alleged Last of Us Part 2 news. So this is once again, according to Bloomberg's Jason Schreier, this dude right here, he been on a this dude is on a world tour with some of the information that he has been having, and had the nerve to say he ain't think it was going to blow up the way that it did. Cut it out, Jason Schreier. But he's back in the news, and he's saying that Naughty Dog currently has, quote, no plans, end of quote, to pursue any additional DLC content for the game. He also spoke on the Min Max show. It's spelled MINN, Max show, if you want to check it out. He spoke on that show. And by the way, I got this from a bloody disgusting article, but this is what Jason Schreier said. He spoke on the topic of Naughty Dog DLC, where he stated that he believes that, quote, at one point, they were thinking about DLC, but I don't think that happened. End of quote. So once again, nothing is 100% confirmed, because he said, but I don't think that happened. He said they were thinking about DLC, but I don't think that happened. Had to finish up the sentence. So, I mean, right now, I mean, how crazy, how insane would it be for Last of Us Part 2 fans? Now, me, I'm a huge fan. It was my game of the generation, hands down. The only game that came close to beating The Last of Us Part 2 was God of War. Those two were at the pinnacle for me for last generation. Unbelievable experiences. So for me, I was happy. I was happy where the game left off. The DLC, don't get me wrong, having another situation like they did with the original Last of Us, having the DLC that they had with Ellie and Riley, that would have been dope. Don't get me wrong. If it was something like Ellie and Dina had their own DLC, man, I would buy anything. I mean, that's game related to The Last of Us Part 2. I wouldn't hesitate, but I was happy the way that it ended. Now, for those that play online, and you guys know I don't play online, I'll get washed away. But for those that were looking forward to, factions online, if Neil Druckmann, if he does not bring that out, and once again, this is all speculation. Jason Schreier, he doesn't sound 100% convinced in this article that this is exactly what's happening. He just has an opinion. But if the situation does happen where factions does not get made, you don't get that online mode. And we heard Neil Druckmann say over on Twitter, this was a couple of months ago, that be patient. We do have things in the works, and we're looking forward to revealing them to you guys when we can. Now, whether or not that meant we gonna unveil this Last of Us remake from the PlayStation 3 up to the PlayStation 5, or if they're gonna talk about factions, I mean, who knows what Naughty Dog is working on. Are they gonna show off that new alleged IP that's a first-person shooter in the future? Nobody knows, but I have to almost guarantee that people that were looking forward to the online element of The Last of Us, factions, that if that doesn't happen, it's going to be a lot of people that are going to be let down. So we'll have to see what happens. None of this is 100% confirmed. Just again, for the record, we'll have to just wait and see and keep our hand on the pulse when it comes to The Last of Us Part 2 and the DLC. Let's go ahead and let's get into some quick news, since we are talking about The Last of Us. And The Last of Us is, of course, it was on the PlayStation 4. But in quick news, according to the latest NPD report, I got this from GameSpot, by the way, over the last several months, PS5 is the best-selling game console in U.S. history in both units sold and dollar sales. And this is despite being outsold by the Nintendo Switch in March in both units and dollars made. So this is huge. Congratulations to you, Sony, for having the best-selling doggone game console in U.S. history. And this is, excuse me, guys, I mean, this is with shortages, and of course, I know a lot of bots that were buying up the PS5. I know it, but just the fact that they were able to do it. Some people could say it's skewed because bots bought it and not humans. And, those guys who bought them with the bots, they hiked the price up by 50 and 60 and 70%. I get it. But it's just like winning a basketball game, a baseball game, whatever it may be. A win is a win. If you win 1-0, it doesn't matter. You won. So I'm sure that's how Sony is looking at it. They made their money. They're selling their consoles, and they're looking at it like, shucks, man. A win is a win no matter how you get it. Oh, my goodness. Anyway, let's go ahead and move on. And let's get into some Bungie news. So we know that Bungie has been working on other projects in the background outside of Destiny, but they haven't really said anything about these other projects. Well, until now. And this is, it's because over on Bungie's careers page, they put up a job listing, which gives us a bit of an idea of what they're working on. So the position they're hiring for is an incubation multiplayer systems designer at the company. And the description of the role says the studio is looking for a candidate that has a background in PvP multiplayer games, familiarity with esports is required. In addition, experience with working on a live game across, quote, multiple platforms, end of quote. So could this be an online PvP title? Because, it screams multiplayer. And if it is another multiplayer PvP, especially when it talks about this candidate being familiar with esports, man, it just doesn't do anything for me. I was hoping, and once again, this is all based off of a job description, which I think I got one more here too, talking about the job description of something, giving us an idea of what these guys are working on. This is a letdown for me because I don't play online, and for those that do, this is a big W. For you guys, Destiny, that was kind of the reason why I never gave Destiny a chance, because everybody said, well, it's really not a campaign. Pretty much you're playing online, and that's the gist of it. And even though people talk about it like it's the greatest thing ever, I'm not an online player, so it just doesn't do anything for me. Even if the campaign was better, because I read some of the reviews and it was all over the place. I'll tell you later. Don't worry about it. I'm like, man, and I was really looking forward to Destiny, but now I was hoping that, okay, Destiny is done. You guys have, reclaimed your title as like having one of the best first-person shooters online. Maybe they'll go back to a campaign mode. And it doesn't seem like that's what they're doing, at least at the moment. Now, who knows? Maybe it could and will have a campaign mode, whatever this new project Bungie is working on. Maybe it does. And on the side, similar to Halo, like back in the day when they were making it, they would have the campaign as well and the multiplayer. So we'll have to see what happens with this. But one thing is for sure, at least at the moment, it seems like a big emphasis is being put on multiplayer. We shall see. But let's go ahead and let's get into some Ubisoft news, because they confirmed their forward event at E3 will happen on June 12th. At 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and that is literally the first day of E3. And I'm hoping that, man, what the world happened to Skull and Bones? What happened to that? Are we gonna see that? We haven't heard anything about Beyond Good and Evil 2, and they had a demo up. This was about 2 years ago. They were showing a demo of Beyond Good and Evil 2, and it looked really good. It looked promising, but we haven't heard anything about it since. Are we gonna get a Splinter Cell? It's Sam Fisher. gonna make some kind of appearance at the show. I mean, these are things I want to know, man. I mean, Skull and Bones fell way by the wayside. And it just seems that way. Seems like that same effect happened with Beyond Good and Evil Part 2. So hopefully Ubisoft, they show off something great. I'm almost positive we're going to see a dance revolution there. Seems like they do that every single year. Oh, man, we'll see. Ubisoft's usually their events, they can go either way. Sometimes they are up. Sometimes they're down. You know, it's never consistently bad. It's never consistently good. They're kind of like 50-50. So I'm hoping that this year they'll definitely be more on the upswing, because it's also that rumor going around that the newest Assassin's Creed is going to be taking place in the same time period as the very first Assassin's Creed. So we'll see if that's true or not. Who knows? Assassin's Creed might not even make it out this year. We just don't know. But it is one thing that we know for sure, and that's once again on June 12th, starting at 3 p.m., we will be getting news from Ubisoft during their E3 event. Let's go ahead and get into some more news. Now, there is a rumor going around from Reddit user and alleged known leaker Tom Henderson that he hasn't been hearing any concrete information on Battlefield 6 still coming to last-gen consoles. And because of that, he thinks Battlefield 6 will come to Game Pass on day one to boost user numbers. Now, we had found out at one point in time, Battlefield 6 was supposed to be an exclusive next-generation game. We had heard that from EA from the very first jump, from the gate when the game came out, as far as like just being shown the tech demo of it, that this would be a next generation title only. Then at some point in time, we started hearing, well, it's actually going to be being released on the PS4 and the Xbox One. And I think a lot of people, including myself, actually felt kind of, upset about that, because we're like, man, come on, man, this game looks amazing. It's going to be working off of, next gen hardware only. They're not going to have to make any compromises, so it can run on the older hardware. This is what we want. This is what we want to see. But it seemed like that wasn't going to be the case. So this alleged insider, once again named Tom Henderson, he's saying that he's not hearing anything about these last gen ports anymore. And that, because of that, and I hate to repeat myself here, but because of that, Battlefield 6 is going to be in Game Pass on day one, just to get those numbers up a bit. So whether or not this is true, we'll have to, continue and wait, because once again, E3 is coming up. I know EA hasn't done an E3 show in many, many years now, but we know that they always put on some kind of event around the E3 season, and maybe we'll get some more confirmation during that time. But either way, this is, it's interesting, and good grief, the game looks amazing. It looked really good from what I saw. Wasn't a whole lot. It was just, the facial expressions on the soldiers' faces, but it looked great. Looked like it could be something pretty good. A lot of people seem like they're more excited about Battlefield 6 this year than Call of Duty, and I think that's because Call of Duty is supposed to allegedly be going back to World War II or World War I, somewhere around there, and a lot of people are tired of that. They don't want to go back there. So we'll see if that happens. I've never heard of Battlefield ever beating Call of Duty. Not ever. It's never happened. And I mean, to be honest, I can't imagine that this would be the year that it would happen. But, people, they're very fickle. They'll say, oh yeah, I'm going to get that. I'm going to cop it. And all of a sudden they don't. I've done it myself. I have done it too. So I'm not above it. either. You know, sometimes things change. Something looks a certain way at one moment, then you see it another, and you're like, yeah, I don't think I'm going to be able to rock with it. So, anyway, in short, we'll see what happens with Battlefield 6. And if Microsoft, golly, if Microsoft can get Battlefield 6 inside a Game Pass on day one, that would be insane. That would be crazy. If nothing else is true that this guy's saying, if it comes to Game Pass, man, that would be so exciting. I'm looking forward to seeing something like that happen. But once again, rumors, we don't know for sure. So we'll just leave it there. But up next, IO Interactive. Man, those guys, they have opened a new Barcelona studio. By the way, I got this story from IGN. But they opened up a new Barcelona studio where they will work on Project 007, Hitman, and a unannounced new IP. Now, the press release reads, and I quote, "All three of the IO Interactive studios are treated as elite studios and will each make a significant impact to ongoing development and publishing efforts across all projects." End of quote. Now, the cool thing about IO Interactive is some people may forget, but these guys are independent now. They are no longer, who were they attached to? Were they attached to Square? Was it Square Enix that owned them at one point? I cannot remember, but for some reason I'm thinking it was Square. I could be wrong. Somebody correct me. But just the fact that these guys, they became independent and now going to Barcelona, opening up 3 different studios, now working on 3 different projects from different studios within, their in-house teams. That is amazing, man. And this 007 game came out of nowhere. I know that Hitman, I played Hitman. I tried to get into it. I could see how the game could be great, because you got so many different outcomes on the way that you do the missions. But I haven't really been in the stealth game since Splinter Cell. And, I'm not really for the sneaking around or having to find a disguise and all of that stuff. But when I was playing Hitman, I believe it was Hitman 3, I'm just going around and doing the different missions. It was actually pretty cool. It was a cool game, and I could see the allure. That's all I'm saying. But just the fact that now 007 is a game that they're working on. Oh, and if you didn't know about 007, what the premise of the game is going to be, it's going to focus on James Bond's origin story. And I believe this is a first for any of the video games that have been made. So I'm really, really looking forward to seeing what that story looks like, and the mechanics of the game, the graphics of the game, and what they're able to bring to the table with 007. I'm very excited about that. But also this unannounced title, this just means that these guys are working. Hitman was the only thing they were working on for such a long time. It's just great to see that now, them being independent, they're getting different IPs to work on. I mean, shucks, they actually have the 007 IP. That's crazy. And making a game that nobody knows about. It's just great to see, man. So congratulations to IO Interactive for getting their independence and really starting to roll, man. And I really hope that this 007 game does well and that it's a great game and it tells such a fantastic story. That's what I'm hoping for. But we shall see. Now, this next story, this is actually courtesy of Digital Foundry. We found out that if you attempt to put an existing NVMe SSD into your PS5 slot, your console won't boot up. So we know that they had just got this update. We had talked about it a little earlier, with the remote play. Well, that's not remote play. Yeah, I guess it is. Remote play, being able to take control of your friend's PlayStation, what they have on the screen showing you, as well as the update to the DualSense controller. Inside of the update that we're talking about, you could hook up an external hard drive and take the games off and switch it onto that hard drive just to free up the hard drive space on the PlayStation 5. I kind of botched it a little bit, but basically you can free up more space with an external hard drive. But for some people, they thought, well, shucks, this might mean that finally we can hook up this SSD into the slot of the PS5. And no, once again, it does not work. You can't boot up your system. Your system won't boot up, and it would be a waste of your money and your time. So we know that feature, as far as being able to go in there, get an SSD drive from whether it be Best Buy, which is, oh man, one of my favorite stores, either there or Micro Center, which is another one of my favorite stores, then, you're not going to be able to do that until around the summertime. I believe Sony said that's when you'll be able to get that internal storage off of a SSD. So those guys are still working on that, and I'm sure that they'll eventually get it together. But as it stands right now, no, do not try it. Also, you know what, guys, man, we've been talking about Sony quite a bit here. And you know what, I want to segue into it just a little bit better. But the next story, Days Gone, is going to release on PC on May 8th. Golly. And before I get into that any further, I have a $25 gift card here that I want to give away to you guys just for being here, man. Just continuing to show me some support. I mean, just amazing support, man. Not just some, but so much. And I truly, truly appreciate it because, like I say, man, without you guys listening, the show is not worth doing. So this is just to show some appreciation. Let me get this card, man. Hold on one second. Find it. Here it is. All right, so get your pens and get your papers, your Crayolas, whatever you need, brothers and sisters, to write this code down. Once again, it's for $25. So the code is as follows, and I love PlayStation codes because they are just short, not a whole lot. So the code is CLR7JDNA47AN. Write that down, and yeah, man, just enjoy that. $25. If you do win, if you do get it, call me up or email the show at call up at 443-216-9934. Let me know you got it so I can shout you out, or just email the show at the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. Let me know you got it that way. That way I can shout you out again, just to let people know that you won, and that way I don't have to try to read it off again. You know what? I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I ain't gonna read it off. I'm not. So if you don't call in or let me know something, I guess, man, we just will never know. But yeah, man, just enjoy that, and yeah, that's it. That's it for that, brothers. Now, Days Gone going to PC on May 18th. Whoa, buddy. You know what? I know what the question of the week is going to be. You guys are going to see it, but just remember, this is what it stemmed from. And I'm going to tell you, Days Gone look good. I mean, I have Days Gone. You know what? I'm laughing because speaking of Days Gone, hold on, man. Let me see if I can find this real quick. Because this dude, man, let me tell you something. Shout out to David Jaffe. This brother has been rocking and rolling lately with his interviews. Hold on, man. Man, I gotta find this. Hold up. Hold on. Let me see. There it is. Man, the guest he had had Jeff Ross on a week or so ago. He's from Sony Bend, and he also got on man, who was this on his show? Hold on, man. I'm going to get his name. John Garvin. John Garvin kept it, man. This dude kept it so honest and so raw and uncut. I want to find this guy's, his quote. He said, let me see. Did you buy it for? Yeah. He was talking about support the daggone games. He said, and this is a quote. He said, did you buy it at full price? If you did, then that's supporting the developers directly. End of quote. He was saying something where, he said, game players, they shouldn't quote, complain if a game doesn't get a sequel, if it wasn't supported at launch. He was saying pay freaking full price for the game if you want to support it and you want more out of it. Man, this dude was so raw and uncut. Hold on. I don't want to put words in his mouth. He says, let me see, complain if the game doesn't launch. He said, in a frank discussion, Garvin admitted that while his views, quote, might piss some people off, end of quote, if players love a game, we should, quote, buy it at freaking, and I'm definitely substituting some words here, full price, end of quote, instead of in sales or via subscription services like PlayStation Plus. Ooh! Now, I didn't catch that. Oh, shucks. Oh, man. So man, was that a shot? I have to think that had to be a shot. He brought up PlayStation Plus because you guys remember that if you own the PS5, well, now you can have a PS4. They're giving it away in PS Plus, to PlayStation Plus members. He's saying, frick that doggone service. Give us the full price. And, we need that. We need that. If you want to show support, pay full price for the game. I mean, this dude was on one. Let me see. What else do we have here? By the way, this is from Games Radar Plus that I'm reading these quotes from. He said, let me see. He says, don't complain if a game doesn't get a sequel if it wasn't supported at launch. It's like God of War got whatever number millions of sales at launch, and Days Gone didn't. Just speaking for me personally, as a developer, I don't work for Sony. I don't know what the numbers are. So I think the uptick in engagement with the game is not as important as did you buy the game at full price. Because if you did, then that's supporting the developers directly. End of quote. Shout out to David Jaffe, man. The guy's really, man, he is just a straight shooter. He doesn't cut anything. He was actually on Z's show. Shout out to Z and the Broadband Bullies. He was over there talking with them. And I mean, this guy's a real, man, he's just a no nonsense individual, but I respect it and I appreciate him for being that way. But check out this interview. I think you will be highly entertained. He was not playing around. His guest, what was his name? Garvin? Yeah, John Garvin. He was definitely speaking his piece. But speaking of Days Gone and all of that stuff, and I believe John Garvin, just to give you guys a idea of what he did, he was the writer and creative director on Days Gone. So yeah, check that out over on David Jaffe's YouTube channel. I think you guys would definitely enjoy that. But taking us out into the sunset as far as the gaming news section of the podcast. Speaking about Days Gone, Sony Bend is hiring for a number of different positions like programming, animation, and art. And by the way, I did get this article from PSU, but it also, in the job description, they mention open world environments, vehicles, weapons, and more. So is it going to be another situation? Why do I say going like that in the beginning? I say going. Anyways, it don't even matter. So could it be a situation where this game is possibly gonna kind of mirror what Days Gone was? Because we know that Sony did not greenlight a Days Gone 2. Allegedly. We gotta say allegedly, because Sony did not come out and say this, but allegedly they did not, they're not allowing Days Gone 2 to release, but just the fact that the game is open world and it has vehicles and weapons, it sounds a lot like Days Gone. But we'll have to find out what happens with this. I'm sure we ain't gonna see this until like 2032, somewhere around there when the game does release. But just the fact that it's gonna have vehicles in it and be open world, it is definitely interesting. Anyway, that is the end of the gaming news this week, which leads us into the final section of the podcast, which I know you guys saw, and I told you where it was going to originate from. But this week's question is, do you buy new or used games? I'm curious to know this, because I can honestly say that during the 360 and PlayStation 3 era, it was a mixture, mostly used. I would say about 80% of the games I bought back then, they were used. I mean, every time, mostly because I was broke. Man, during the 360 and the PS3 era. I ain't had no money, man. But, I can say that ever since the last generation, the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One generation, every game I bought for either one of those consoles, even including the Nintendo Switch right now, they have all been brand new games. Every single one. Ones that I've opened, ones that are still in the cellophane that I haven't opened. I tried to make it a point to get all the games I got from last generation brand new, because I did want to support the developers. I wanted to, make sure that this hobby that I love, man, I absolutely love this hobby of gaming. I wanted to do my part to make sure that I was feeding it as much as I could. Now, granted, honestly, when it comes to these sales, man, I hear what Garvin was saying. I dig it, brother. But when you get these sales on the digital stores, where some of these games are 50 and 60 and 70% off, like those Black Friday sales and publisher sales, man, brother, I'd be lying to y'all if I didn't say I jumps on them. I'm diving on them immediately, to get certain games that I may have never gotten, to begin with. Like Saints Row the Third Remastered. You guys know I bought that. I guess it's been close to 2 weeks ago now. I wanted to get the game. I really did. But I didn't want to pay, I believe it was, I don't even know if it was full price, to be fair. It might have been $39.99. But I was like, man, I don't want to get it for that much, because I played it already. I have the original downstairs in one of my bins down in the basement somewhere. I was like, but I do like the game. So when they had put it on sale for, what was it, $18.99, like more than half off, I dove on that mother loving. I know Garvin, he said, look, if you want to support the developers, then buy the game at full price. I hear you, brother. I hear you. Whenever it's physical, trust me, it definitely gets bought for full price. Like I just picked up Blood and Truth for the PSVR the other week at Best Buy. Brand new game. And I don't know why I bought it, because I still ain't even got the PSVR even opened up and playing it, man. I'm sorry, Mike J. I'm sorry, Glove Box. I haven't opened it, brothers. But I bought it because it was a game that I was interested in. And I said, hey, one day, I might play it. So let me go ahead and buy it. So I'm definitely an advocate for buying newer games. Well, not newer, but brand new games. But at the same time, I understand too that people have families, they got children, and I'm in a different position. I don't have children, man. So, I don't have money being allocated to someone else outside of, me and my significant other and regular house bills and stuff, so I'm in a different position, as that goes. So I understand that for other people, it may not be that same situation. You may have like 3 and 4 kids you got to take care of, as well as a wife, and that can take up a lot of resources when it comes to money. So some people, the only way that they can get a game is on the used market. I get both sides of it. I really do. So it's no right or wrong answer. And in my opinion, if you do get the game used, you can still show some support to the developer by possibly buying the DLC, that the game may have, or some extra content that comes up in the game later on down the line. So I'm just curious to know, though. Really, really curious. Once again, question is, do you buy new or used games? To be a part of the listener feedback, which is where we'll be discussing this, you can interact with the show 2 different ways to let your voice be heard. You can either call in at 443-216-9934, or you can email the show, and the email address is the Analog Circle Podcast at gmail.com. I would really, really love to hear from you. Yeah. I was your host, Kiaun Mitchell, and once again, thank you guys so much for being here this week. Thank you guys for the continued support. I really, really, really appreciate it. It definitely keeps me going. It keeps me motivated, and it continues to make me want to, continue to, do the podcast. It means so much, guys. It really does. So, thank you guys for that. So I don't want to get too long-winded, because y'all know how I do sometimes. So we're going to wrap it up right here. But before we officially wrap it up and put that bow on it, always remember one thing. It is not about the consoles. It is about the games. So until Wednesday, when we do it again, you guys take care. Be safe out there. Bye-bye.